So this is a story about my brother Lewis. He was the youngest of our family. He was born in 1947. Roger was the oldest. He was 12 years old, and I was 8. And David was about 5 when Lewis was born. He was a beautiful baby. My mother let his curls grow to a point where some people were making bets as to whether he was a boy or a girl. But he was very photogenic. In fact, the picture with he and the baby chickens was used in one of my dad's advertisings for the Tyler Chick Hatchery where he worked. It was right next door to our house. When Lewis was about 5, I think it was 1952, the whole family moved to Barnum, Minnesota. Lewis wasn't ready for school that year, but the second year he was. And that's where he began his schooling. 6 years later, the whole family moved back to Tyler, where he completed his high school education in 1965. So like the rest of us, Lewis was taking part in everything. Piano lessons from Mrs. Straub. He sang. He was in the Cub Scouts. He was in the Boy Scouts. He played basketball. He played football. And of course, he was confirmed in the English Lutheran Church. And then he traveled with the Luther Leaguers from the church for 3 weeks from Tyler, Minnesota, to the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. After he graduated from high school, he went to Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota for 2 years. After that, he traveled to Germany, where he attended Schiller College for 1 year. While he was there in Europe, he traveled to Spain, Yugoslavia, Denmark. Sometimes he was alone. Sometimes he was with friends. He was never afraid to try something new. When he came back, Lewis received his bachelor degree at the University of Minnesota. That was in 1970. After that, Lewis joined the Peace Corps program, and he spent 2 years in Puerto Rico and in Panama, teaching the villagers how to grow crops and how to take care of their chickens. This is where he heard this special music, and this is where he learned to love flamenco music. When he came back, he traveled to Spain to study the art of flamenco. He was so good, he had a group of dancers who performed with him all over. And he changed his stage name to Luis Primitivo. They were based in Chicago, and they traveled the world. They performed in the Midwest from Minneapolis to Chicago, traveled to Spain, Japan, China, throughout the southeastern United States, performing their flamenco dances, even at the Dolly Parton Fun Place. Lewis never valued things. Status was for others, not for him. One time when I visited him and the parents in Tyler, he drove from Chicago in an old red car that he had wired the doors shut because it didn't work. It didn't bother him. I'm not really sure how the car really made it that far from Chicago there. Clothes, other than his performance clothes, were not important either. His love of music was the most important thing. He lived his life loving the spirit of playing. He played for the 50th anniversary party of our parents. He played for Lisa and Robert's graduation parties. Countless other gatherings in the church and in the communities. He would rather sit and play his guitar than play games or talk. He had girlfriends, but he never married. Hashi was his Afghan dog, who ended up living with our parents because Lewis traveled. Lewis was 46 years old when he played his last concert, October the 28th, 1993, and he entered the hospital the next day because he was ill. I was lucky enough to fly to Chicago to spend the next 10 hours with this wonderful, bright, funny, and talented little brother of mine, talking about the good old days while we were growing up, all the members of our family, and the wonderful experiences he had while traveling with his flamenco dancers. He began to tire, and he went to sleep and never woke up. He went into a coma for the next 8 days until he died November the 5th, 1993, where he lived in Chicago. He left behind his mother, 2 brothers, and I, to wish that we had been able to spend more time through the years with our little brother, Lewis Walter Christensen, who made his mark on the world in so many ways through his passion for music. Lewis's final resting place is with our parents in Tyler, Minnesota, at the Hope Cemetery. Rest in peace, little brother. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the beauty that you brought in your music.